Kevin, to pose the question to you, how would you describe Patrick Mahomes' performance against the Bengals in the AFC Championship game?
Well, I mean, it's like you said, the first half, damn near perfect football. Obviously, torching Cincinnati. The thing that we're circling on is the failure, the collapse, the absolute atrocity that was the second half for Patrick Mahomes. And it looked like the Patrick Mahomes from the first couple of weeks of the season. Here's why: two interceptions, fumble. Obviously, the fumble wasn't lost. The offensive line was able to recover, and indecisiveness in the pocket. Patrick Mahomes, in my opinion, was trying to get a little bit too fancy. He had rolled out. He had been pressured out of the pocket, making a lot of backwards rushes and kind of trying to spin back and forth to avoid the pass rush, in which led to him being sacked 4 times in the second half, which led to almost knocking Harrison Butker, right,
Yes.
out of field goal range to potentially lose the game. Obviously, they ended up tying it, but Patrick Mahomes was just making ill-advised decisions, bad throws, a couple of them off the mark, out of the reach of the receiver's hands, thrown behind, overthrown. I don't know if the pressure got to him. I don't know if the drive before the half started with Tyreek Hill got stuffed at the 1 or 2 yard line going into halftime. Really messed with his confidence of them not being able to punch it in and put them back up by a formidable amount. But the narratives behind it are endless to me. The possibilities of what if. I genuinely have no idea what happened to Patrick Mahomes. Cincinnati's defense turned it up, of course. They ended up finding ways to keep everything in front of them. Of course, Tyreek Hill was completely shut out in the second half and in overtime with no catches. Travis Kelce was limited to just a few. And the list goes on and on and on. The pressure was absolutely totally different from Cincinnati, and they were able to get, rush, and annoy Patrick Mahomes the entire second half. And I don't know what it is. I'm sitting here, and mind you, we've been thinking about how to go about this topic for a long time, but Pat just didn't look like himself. Even though that he was able to torch in the first half, it's literally like it was two different players. It's like that funny meme where it's like when the Scooby Doo gang catches a ghost and you pull the mask off and it ends up being somebody from the beginning of the episode. It was like Patrick Mahomes, you ripped the helmet off and it was like Jamarcus Russell. Not to be that drastic, but I mean, like, that was the drop off to me. It was just perfection to horrid. It was Patrick Mahomes to a quarterback we've never seen before. And I haven't seen Pat Mahomes run for his life the way that he was running away from Cincinnati defenders since the Super Bowl last year. So you could really chalk it up to a bunch of different reasons. Patrick Mahomes sold. Absolutely terrible. Patrick Mahomes choked. That's the only way to put it. And, because of that, Cincinnati was able to capitalize, and that's why they're going to the Super Bowl.
Listen, I'm not going to get overly critical about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes is still one of the best quarterbacks in the league.
100%.
But this game is definitely going to be a mark on his career early on. And it really comes off the heels of one of his best performances that we've seen throughout his postseason career in that first half. I mean, that first half, Kevin, he was torching Cincinnati's defense. It wasn't like Cincinnati was going toe to toe with them in the first half. I mean, it was 21-3 at one point in the second quarter. And it was in large part due to what Patrick was able to do, just methodically moving down the field, whether it was hitting Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, McCall Hardman. Cincinnati had no answer. And Patrick was just dicing them up left and right. I really do think that when Tyreek Hill got stopped at the 1 yard line right before halftime, I think that's when all the momentum with KC stopped. Because Cincinnati went into halftime thinking that they could potentially be down 28-10. But going into halftime, they were only down 21-10 after they stopped Tyreek Hill. That's a huge momentum booster. And when KC couldn't get anything going on that first drive, I just imagine that Cincinnati's confidence went through the roof. Like, we can get this guy. We can get after Pat. We can make life uncomfortable for him. And they did. That entire second half, Patrick Mahomes and that offense could not do anything until literally like the last drive of the game in regulation, where they were able to get down to the red zone and they were only able to settle with a 3-point field goal. I mean, it's tough if you're KC because you saw what they were able to do in the first half. You're thinking, like, how could they only score 3 points in the second half after that first half performance? Cincinnati's defense just ramped up the pressure. And KC's offensive tackles, they really could not defend the edges well. And that's where a lot of the pressure came. And Patrick, you can only evade so much. I mean, he ended up getting sacked a few times. A couple of them ended up in a strip sack. He had 2 turnovers. Um, both of those were interceptions. Just all in all, Patrick just collapsed in that second half. I think if memory serves me right, the guy had over 200 yards passing in the first half and had like 75 in the second half and overtime combined. That's just atrocious. It's one of the worst performances that I've seen in a half by a star-studded quarterback like that throughout my lifetime. Unfortunately, it's Patrick Mahomes in this instance. And really, when I look at Patrick Mahomes' overall game, first half was fine, but he's got to take a lot of the responsibility for what happened in that second half. So, granted, it is a team game, and I'm not going to place the blame solely on one person. But when you start divvying up the responsibility of where it lays, Patrick's definitely got to take some. Granted, he's 26 years old. He'll be able to bounce back from this. It's not the end of the world, but KC probably should have won that game. When you're up 21-3 at home and you can't seal it, it's not a good look. But knowing KC for who they are, I do think that they will be able to bounce back. But this game is definitely going to be a hit on Patrick's career when we look back at it. But I do think that they can bounce back from it. That's just how I see it.